Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Sam and I am today working on the deep analysis using Slicer for this IELTS test data, and today is the last time where I will be talking much more in-depth analysis about the data analysis using the slices and dices, as well as on the different countries where they have actually taken these tests in IELTS. Well, IELTS, which is an international English language testing system, has two different partners, which are British Council and IDP Australia. No offense to that, but the problem is that for last 2 years they have minted 3.5 trillion US dollars within half of the months for this current year 2018. So such a surplus amount of money for just a small English test is quite not acceptable. To say this, where actually I have taken this data is from this particular website, which is IELTS.org, and here you can see that the test taker performances data for 2017 has been laid out, where they have given the academic and general training test takers. For academics is basically where you want to go to any university, and for general training if you want to have for immigration. Now furthermore, these two tests are being taken by two different genders, which is female and male, and it has been divided into 4 different sections, which are listening, reading, writing and speaking. And with this they have divided this data into further 2 different categories, where one is about the most frequent countries, those who have taken these tests, and other where his first language is not English. So for today we will be talking more about the countries where the people have taken these tests ad hoc or as much as they could to secure their place for either in academics or general training. Now, as the map shows in here, which says that IELTS has actually captured the 90% of the world's population, leaving Greenland and some parts of Africa behind, it is actually quite true. And we can see this through our Power BI. If I just pull up my resources in here, and if I use my fields, which is, I'll take the general training frequent countries for the place of origin, and I can just see in here that all the different parts, or if I just highlight in here, that all the different parts of the world is been suffer through this, but it is for the general training frequent countries. But if I use the which is actually used for the immigration purposes, but if I use the academic frequent countries, if I use the place of origin, I can very well see that one particular region, which is here, which is called as the Colombia in here, is actually it's Cuba. It's Cuba basically, where it's people are taken mostly and ad hoc. But the problem with this particular data set is this, that it has a whole section with one single color, which we can easily remove with the help of Power BI. Is that if I use this particular visualization, which is ESRI, it can give us, or it can give a particular section of the visualization for different countries using different colors to make us more understandable that how this data actually works. It is not these countries are working on for some particular data. It is much more that these tests are being taken by these particular countries often and on, and that has led to many generation of the revenues. Now, as you can see in here, that if I zoom it, I can get a clear picture, a quite broader picture, that the places which are overlapped in here, people are often taking more of academic and immigration purposes. People want to immigrate to UK, people want to immigrate to America, people want to immigrate to Canada or Australia even. these places are mostly affected in here. Now if I go to this part of the area which is in Caribbean, I can see that this is much more affected. As you can see, there's quite a belt of data in here, because that means all the small islands, Dominican Republic, Martinique, St. Lucia, they are giving this test, or they're taking this test as much as they could to get into immigration or any particular universities. So this one test has created so much of hype or so much of propaganda across the world that it has to be given a limit, or it has to be relentless on their particular attitude. We can see into much more in detail if we just see around with our male test takers and the female test takers. Now here I've already made a kind of data and set in here where the male test takers, which are basically this group, is the general training is much more than the academics. Means people are getting motivated to more immigration rather than education, which is one of the single problem for the male test takers. And the same problem is, or it can be seen in the female test takers, where the general training and the academics are more into offering to picture. The general training is basically used for the immigration purposes, and academics are for the university purposes. In female test takers, the general training is way ahead than the education purposes. We can see a much more using this fish tank, where the sharks of this general training are quite in head-in count with the academics in here, and the general training for the listening is in opposite with the academics. But if we go to deep analysis with these male test takers in here, we can very well see that if I take the male test takers in here, and if I use this data set, and if I press the overall in here, it immediately subsidizes into different categories, which shows that for one particular section, which is the listening in here, is much more way advanced for the general training in both the cases in academics than if I use the female test takers in here, that for the overall that this is not as much as it's so. Here the overall strategies are much more increasing than our listening section in the female test takers. So this particular graph region shows, or it shows that the female test takers are way ahead than the male test takers, and they are often been increased for often been encouraged for the immigration rather than education, and that led the IELTS to make such a huge lump of money out of nowhere. If you like my data set, I will be putting this file as usual into my YouTube, and if you like it, do subscribe to my channel and give a like, and do post your comments. I will be looking forward to it. Till then, thank you very much.